Thank you.
Okay. I think we've received another question from someone on our live chat. Doug, are we seriously thinking about removing, what did she say?
Breakdown lanes, the shoulder lanes along I-35.
That's right. Anyone going to speak to that?
There was discussion about earlier in the week.
Yeah, that talked about taking those breakdown lanes
and
to add
another
lane.
That's something that maybe Carlos Lopez, our district engineer here in Austin, would be best able to answer. I know that that type of solution was implemented on I-35 in the northern part of the city of Austin as you go from 183 northward to allow for additional lanes to be added, particularly in between some ramps, and it's made some significant improvements there. I don't know, Carlos, if we have any current plans in place to do that.
Well, we don't have any current plans to take away the shoulders. However, the City of Austin study that's been mentioned quite frequently tonight, one of the things they're going to be looking at is the possibility of putting some type of express lane in the middle of I-35. So part of that solution is, can you fit that lane in there? And can you not have to widen the roadway? And if you can, then at that point, you may have to do something with the shoulders. So it's always a give and take in all these highway improvements, especially when you don't have to want to buy any extra land.
Ginger Gooden from the Texas Transportation Institute. We're kind of wrapping this thing up, and the number one issue here, of course, we'd all love to have a perfect community, but it all boils down to money and the willingness of the voters to support these projects, right?
Right, it does. And one of the things that we've learned from the research that we've done, looking across the country at communities that have been successful in getting their projects funded, has been that there has been a clear communication to the public of what the project involves, what benefits that individual drivers will see. And in those cases, what we found is that there's support. If people can clearly see benefits, they're willing to pay, even in times when the economy is bad. So I think what I've heard today has been really good and very consistent with what we've learned from our research in terms of looking at multiple solutions, having partners working together, and really coming together to address the problems and identify benefits for the community.
All right, we've talked about I-35, so I'm sorry, we're going to do an audience question now, or?
Let's do it real quick.
Sure.
Let's do audience questions.
Okay.
One more question from
Make
the
sure your
audience.
question is ready. This is Andrew Clements. He's lived here for about 11 years. He lives in South Austin.
I participated in the Envision Central Texas process, where tens of thousands of citizens involved themselves in arriving at a preferred growth scenario, and that's pretty realistically and courageously been adopted into the Campo 2035 long-range plan called the Centers Plan. How important it is for the agencies here tonight to participate in arriving at a regional, particularly rail plan, that enables the Campo 2035 plan to be a reality.
John?
One thing I would say why it is critical is, and Ryan can address this issue, as much as we want to focus growth in downtown Austin, in the next 25 years, we're going to add 1 million people to this region. And we're looking at adding 60 to 80,000 people downtown. Where are those other people going to go? They're going to be out into the areas outside of the city. They're going to be in Round Rock and Pflugerville and Georgetown, San Marcos. They're going to be in those centers that the gentleman was talking about. And I think we all have to adapt our plans to the centers concept to some degree, and marshal our resources to address where is the congestion. It's not rocket science. We can figure out where the congestion is. TTI does a great job of doing that. We have the tools. Senator Watson and others have provided us with the legislative tools. We as agency people are working together to provide some of those solutions today. We're not sitting on our hands. We meet as often as we can to provide local solutions, neighborhood solutions, as well as regional solutions.
Well, I think, Mike, that's important. I think, of course, I represent sort of the folks who add traffic to 35, because a lot of folks that live in Williamson County drive 35, they drive 183 to get to Austin to work. And so I think it is important that we focus on economic development away from downtown Austin and in those areas so that we're sort of reversing the commute. We're having folks in these other areas. I think the biggest challenge, though, and we've kind of danced around it tonight, is funding. We've seen a state and a federal decrease in transportation funding, whether it be for rail or roads. We've seen an exponential increase in state and federal regulations on how we go about building those roads or those rail lines. And, you know, one of the things that we've done at the state, and I want to thank TxDOT for working with us on that, is tried to streamline some of the regulations and some of basically the red tape that you have to go through to get a project environmentally cleared. We've got a lot of work to still do at the federal level, but that is one way we could maximize our dollars today, is to get rid of, quite frankly, some of the regulations. Nobody's trying to get around the process, but get more quickly through it. You announced on the news last night that 1626 in Hays County finally got environmental approval after 6 years. That should have taken about a year. I mean, it's crazy. And the cost of construction, the cost of right-of-way, all that goes up in that time frame. So I think we've got to address funding, but we've also got to address those regulations that are strangling us too.
How do we move the ball forward from this night on? John?
Well, I think we've got a lot of the pieces in place that you've heard about. It's kind of amazing to me, although actually it's not, that how consistent all the responses have been and how much everyone is on the same path to how we're going to deal with these issues. Things we need to do is ensure that the Campo 2035 plan with its centers is in fact implemented, because we cannot even begin to afford anything other than that. We cannot afford to support sprawling growth. I think we need to do some of the things that John and Mike have mentioned, but there are projects that are in the works today, like managed lanes on MOPAC, contemplating what we do between I-35 and State Highway 130. And then, of course, there's public transportation. We have got to expand public transportation because of all of the things that it offers. And one of the big things it offers that I wanted to comment to one of the points made earlier is your second biggest household expense is transportation. And you can cut that in half if you have a meaningful public transportation system that is real access for people.
All right, thank you. We want to thank all of you for being here tonight. We want to mention that our conversation continues in this, and of course KXAN News will continue to investigate these issues as we go on. But we also have a Engage Breakfast series planned with Leadership Austin. Our next breakfast is this coming Tuesday, and we'll be talking about the growth in the area and how the arts community deals with that. That's down at the Long Center at the Rollins Theater at 7:30 a.m.
We're going to have another town hall meeting in the springtime to discuss these issues and a lot more. We really appreciate all of you watching tonight and all of you being here tonight at Huston-Tillotson University. Thanks for joining us, and have a great night.
Good night.